everybody. So we're going to do a quick little easy cooking class today. I was at the grocery store, and while I was going in, it started to snow here. So it is super cold. Now, a few weeks ago, I had made a couple deer roasts. Now, when we have a deer processed, I always have them process the roast as a whole hunk so that I can cook it just like I would cook a beef roast. And if you have a deer or someone offers you a deer, always get the roast because it's really tender, really lean, and super yummy. It's a great cut of meat instead of having it ground up in hamburger. So anyway, I always cook two, whether it's a deer roast or beef roast, a chicken or whatever it is. If I'm going to go through the hassle of actually cooking something, I'm going to cook two of them. One we're going to eat, the other one I'm going to freeze for later, and that is exactly what I'm going to use today. I had put some left over, either cubed or shredded, into these little containers for later use. And today I had thawed one out. We were going to have tacos. So this would be great for tacos, put in enchiladas, put in a stir fry. You can put it on salads, make roast beef sandwiches. Or today I decided, since it was snowing, I wanted stew because I'm freezing. So we're going to do stew and cornbread. So anyway, this is obviously going to go into the big bucket here. But always freeze extra, and then you've got it cooked and ready to go. Because this is already seasoned too, it's going to add tons of flavor to my stew. So I'm not going to have to dig out a bunch of seasonings either. So it's a great way to kind of save yourself a little bit of time that way too. If it wasn't seasoned, you can obviously do chili powder. Paprika would be good. If you want it kind of more home-style, garlic, salt, pepper, onion. We're just going to do plain Jane, garlic, pepper, and onion because, like I said, this is seasoned really, really well. So what I did was I cubed up my potatoes, if you want to zoom in just a little bit. Now, the smaller they are, the quicker it cooks, and it's bite size. You're going to be able to get a lot more on your spoon than just a hunk of potato. You want a little bit of everything when you get your spoonful of stew. So I cut up a russet potato. That's about 2 medium-sized potatoes. I didn't peel it because, well, we don't mind the skins, thank goodness, because I'm kind of lazy and I just didn't want to do it. So you can peel it if you want to, whatever. And any potato works great. We had those. And then I did carrots the same way. And again, they're all about the same size pieces, right? So if you want to do everything all symmetrical and you have all cubes instead of some circles or whatever, you rock that out. I just say it's rustic and move on with life. So we got potatoes, carrots, and then instead of celery, there's something that I like to use. It's called bok choy. This is what it looks like in the grocery store, okay? And it looks like kind of a funny looking celery, kind of like white celery, and that's actually what it is. It's Chinese cabbage, actually, and it's a cross kind of between celery and cabbage. It is really flavorful. Now, I'm not a big fan of cabbage, like eating it, but I love the flavor that it gives to stews and soups. This gives even a richer, more robust flavor to your soup and stew. I always put it in there. Now, you can certainly add celery instead or celery as well. It just depends. But I think this has such a better flavor, and it's not quite as salty as celery. So you have a little bit more room with your seasonings. Celery is usually really, really salty. So for me, I prefer just bok choy, but like I said, you can combo it or whatever. The cool thing about this is, just like celery, it is a negative food. So what that means is it takes your body more energy to digest this than the calories that's in it, which is awesome. So it's a negative food. You're going to burn extra calories just by trying to digest this thing. So anytime I can add those foods in, totally going to do it. I always incorporate bok choy no matter what kind of soup or stew I'm using. You can always eat the leaves. I do put a few of them in there, but if it freaks out your family that there's leaves or whatever in your stew, then you can leave it out. It's fine. If you wanted to add spinach into this, you certainly could do that, or kale or something like that if you wanted to green it up a little bit. Now, I'm keeping it pretty simple, like I said, and using kind of things I already had in the pantry or thought I had, because when I got home, I thought I had an onion and I didn't, so of course I didn't buy one. So, pantry staple, chopped onions. These are just dehydrated onions, and they will plump up and rehydrate in your stew, but you want to allow for that. So you might add a little bit of extra water to your stew or your soup if you're going to use some dehydrated things. But this is a great cheat in case you forgot your onion, or like me, or let's say you had an onion, but when you found it later, it was all dried up or sprouted, or you didn't want to use it. So, great thing to have. So what I'm going to do, you're not going to obviously put this much of the dehydrated onion because this is concentrated. So I'm just going to put a couple tablespoons, which looks about like so, in my stew. Okay? And if you want to know how to do that, then you get a tablespoon, you put it in your hand. If you want to be a hand cook or a pinch cook, get your measuring spoons out one day, measure out a tablespoon and put it in your hand and see what it looks like. And then you got it down. So do that a few times, you've got it, and you pinch cook that way. The other thing I'm going to put in here is corn, because that's what Tracy likes in his stew. I always buy organic corn. It is, after soy, the second most genetically modified food on the planet. So you always want to buy organic corn. And on the back of the package, this says organic super sweet corn. There's no salts or oils or any seasonings with this. So look for that so you can control that into your soups and stews. And I'm going to put, well, there's a little more than a cup in here. So I'm going to put almost that whole package because I do want to save a little bit to put in my cornbread later. We are super spicy loving people. So our good friend Johnny Freeman, I'll give a shout out. Hi, Johnny. Gave me this whole bag. I don't know how or when I'm going to use this whole bag of, what are these called?
Chili patines.
Chili patines. So my hot meter's broke. I can handle pretty hot, like habaneros and things. That's no problem for me. But he thinks that these are the hottest peppers on the planet. We will see. I'm going to put, just to be safe, in case somebody else ever wants to eat this stew with us, one of these little bitty babies, and it's a teeny tiny. So I'll let you guys know how that works out. Just going to plop that in there. But if you've got jalapenos, you can certainly chop those up. If you, jalapenos this time of year are not going to be super hot to begin with. It takes the sun and high temperatures to actually make your peppers as hot as they're going to get. You might find one every now and then, but for the most part, you know, but I would seed them just so you don't have seeds floating around in your stew. It's just a texture thing. So do seed them, but toss those in. If you got roasted green chilies, you can toss that in there. Whatever you kind of like, whatever you have left over. If you've got peas in the freezer, green beans or mixed vegetables in the freezer, toss it in there. Use what you have and get rid of those kinds of things. It's a great place to use kind of like carrots or potatoes that are maybe on their last leg in the pantry or in the crisper, and you can chop those up and throw them in a stew. It makes really useful. So the other thing, we like tomatoes. This is my absolute favorite canned tomato. I don't use very many canned products. So when I do, I want to make sure that I'm getting the best quality. These happen to be organic, but there's only tomatoes, tomato puree, sea salt, and naturally derived citric acid in this can. I'm great with that. So, and this brand tastes really good. It's fire roasted, which I really love the flavor of that. So this is the one I always buy, this brand. You can get it at Albertsons or at Natural Grocers. Sometimes the H-E-B in Midland will have this. The H-E-B in Odessa doesn't ever. So there you go. And I'll put a can of that, and this is the big giant 28-ounce can. Then I'm going to add my stock. Now when I make a roast, typically I will have leftover broth and such. And so I will just pour the remaining broth into these little containers and freeze it too. And then I've got homemade beef stock already that I can use in soups and stews or whatever. I didn't have any left of that this time. I already used it, so I did buy this. Now there's a million stocks on the market. You need to read your labels. This is the best one that I've found as far as ingredients. It doesn't have a lot of artificial flavors, chemicals, a lot of sugar, high fructose corn syrup, MSG, and all that kind of good stuff. So, and it actually does say gluten-free on there for all my little gluten-free friends. So, this is an okay one. I used about half of this container, and just enough to give it some flavor. And then I did put half a can of water in there. Now, once I get all my vegetables in this big old pot, then I will be able to see if I need to add more water. what I'm going to do once I get everything going, obviously this needs to cook. And if you were going to do this and leave and go to work and not be able to be home and watch it, you could certainly put it in a crock pot. And I would just set it on high all day and you'd be fine when you got home and be cooked. But if, you know, it's Friday, I think. Yeah, it's Friday, so the weekend's here. So if you're going to cook this, you know, tomorrow, you can just stick it in a stock pot. So we got this in here, and I have a hunk of my stew. You can kind of show that a little bit. I have a hunk of my stewed, or my deer roast in there. So I already put one of these containers, and I'm going to go ahead and put this other container, just dump it right in there. But what I want to make sure is that I have enough liquid that everybody feels the love and gets cooked. So I need to add a little bit more water. So I don't want a super runny stew, but the potatoes in the corn are going to help thicken this up a little bit. The starch will release and it'll help thicken it up a little bit naturally anyway. Now if you add more stock, then I would not add salt at this point. I would wait till it cooked down a little bit, and then I would taste it and see how much salt you wanted to add. But because I'm adding more water than stock, just because I flavored and seasoned my roast beef already, then I'm not going to add more stock. I'm just going to add a little bit more water. Now, because of that, I am going to want to season it a little bit more with a little salt and pepper because water has no flavor, right? So I am going to do that. And I also, which I forgot to show you guys, I'll just dig it out because I see it floating. I put 2 of these big cloves of garlic in here. Now, you have to crack or smash the cloves of garlic to release the oils, which contains all the healthy nutrition for you. But if you'll leave them whole and you don't chop them or mince them, they're not as potent and strong. So you just get a hint of garlic flavor. So if you're not a high garlic fan, that's a great way to do that. You just get a hint that way. And then, you know, if you happen to get the big hunk in your bowl, we always say you're the lucky one because it's super soft and creamy, just like butter, and we love that. But we're garlic fans. If you're not, you get the hunk in your bowl, then you just have to do the dishes. That's just the way it is. So the next thing you're going to add is kosher salt. My pinch is about half a teaspoon, so I'm going to do 2 pinches because, like I said, I want to season my vegetables, and I did put just a lot of plain water in there. Now that's about 1 teaspoon for me. I will let this cook for a little bit, and then I'll taste it and season as I need to at the end, right? Say yes. Yes. Okay, so that is it. That's all that's going to go in this pot. I will put the lid on it, which I want to talk about that really quick. You'll notice this lid does not have, oh, this one does. Good. So you see this lid has this little hole here. This is so the steam will release. That's great if you're wanting steam to release out of your stew, and it helps reduce the liquid and makes the stew thicker, or whatever it is you're cooking. But if you're steaming vegetables, or you're wanting to keep the consistency of your stew, you want to pick a lid that does not have that steam release, okay? But you need to watch it. So bring it to a boil, reduce it to a simmer, and make sure it doesn't boil over. So, because you're not going to be releasing that steam. If you're not going to watch your pot, you might want to put that little steam release and you'll be less likely to boil it over. Groovy? Okay, so basically that is it for my beef stew. I'm going to, like I said, bring it to a boil, reduce it to simmer, and I'm going to cook this until my potatoes are tender. That's my rule, at least 2 hours. And then I'll make some cornbread to go along with it, and we'll take some and share with a friend of ours that had surgery later. So, any questions with that, you can certainly text me in the comment box and let me know. If you want to cook with me in person, you can do that. I teach cooking classes right here in this kitchen in my home. You get to see real life cooking. We actually cook everything from scratch, just like this. Now, I had cut everything up for y'all to make this faster, but you learn how to do all this cutting and how to save time and tricks and techniques and what to do with leftovers and things like that in my cooking classes. You get the recipes, the nutritional breakdown. We cook it and you eat it at the end. If you're interested in that at all, you can click on my website, which is up in the description there with you. And look at the calendar and see the cooking classes that are coming up. So they range anywhere from $35 to $45 a class. So anyway, I hope y'all have a great, warm, stay warm afternoon and weekend, and I will be in touch and talk to y'all soon. Thanks. Bye.